All right, so welcome anyone. My name is Hector Quinones. I am the Municipal Alliance coordinator. Our MAC chairwoman is Johanna Schwank, who is not at least connected as of right now. We are having our quarterly meeting for the Municipal Alliance, the Dover Victory Gardens Municipal Alliance. I would like to take a moment to thank everyone for coming. I will ask if you could please make sure that if you can rewrite your names in Zoom, and I will be taking attendance following this. So I am taking a snapshot. If you could put your last names, that would be helpful. So let's begin. So today's agenda, we're calling the meeting to order at 7:11. Roll call and introductions. I would like to ask everyone who is here if you wouldn't mind activating your camera if you would like. If you are not able to speak, if you could potentially maybe just at least write your name and your position in the town. We're gonna be discussing how does an alliance work, how our alliances are funded. We're gonna look at some samples. Go a little bit over the county meeting presentation and substance use and the older community. Also, we're gonna go over the application that was submitted, misinforms 10A from organizations, pending site visits, and discuss reallocations of funds and programs needed. So again, Hector Quinones, Municipal Alliance Coordinator for the town of Dover and Victory Gardens. If you don't mind, please activating, if you could turn on your camera so we can see you at least for your introduction, that would be magnificent. Mayor Dot, I know you are out, so maybe if you want to go first, if you don't mind, just give your hellos.
Hello, everyone. It's Mayor Jim Dodd from the town of Dover. Thank you for inviting us to this meeting.
Thank you. Welcome. All right. Pastor Tim.
Pastor Timothy Hart from the Garden Chapel in Victory Gardens, New Jersey, representing the Garden Chapel in Victory Gardens.
Thank you. If we have Colleen.
Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Martinez. I am a member of the First Pentecostal Church of Dover with Reverend Darcy Keelan.
Thank you so much for coming. We also have Sister Janine Adams. You could please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Michelle Espada, and I'm representing the town of Dover for Recreation Department and Business Development.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Janine Adams, if you would like to introduce yourself. No, you could connect with us a little later. So let's begin. Thank you, everyone, again for coming. Janine put her information in the chat, as you can see it. Janine Adams, LCSW from Garden Chapel. So let's begin. Please feel free to ask questions as we go. This way, they will all be answered. Some of the information is going to be repetitive in the beginning. However, once we get past the nitty-gritty or the basic information of how the Municipal Alliance works, we should all be able to have some new information. So here we go. So, when you hear the term GCADA, GCADA, it stands for Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. So what in the world is this? How does this money come about? So pretty much, it's grant money that funds the DVG, Municipal Alliance Programs and other prevention strategies. Where does the money come from? The money comes from federal drug enforcement demand reduction. So when you hear the term DETR, if you hear somebody say DETR, he's talking about, again, let's say it slowly so you don't forget it, drug enforcement demand reduction funds. And what's the purpose of it? The purpose is to reduce the use of drugs and alcohol and any substances, pretty much in a nutshell. Is coordinated by the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drugs Abuse State County Alliance Program. So again, this is not a Dover Victory Gardens thing. This is for the whole state of New Jersey. Additional prevention awareness funding comes from Dover. Sorry for the typo there, and Victory Gardens, as well as fundraisers. So the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, which is GCADA funds, um, in all 21 New Jersey counties. The Municipal Alliance Network is made up of local grassroots organizations, which are comprised mainly of volunteers. This statewide network was established to assess needs, set priorities, develop plans, and implement programs which form the foundation of New Jersey's substance abuse prevention activities. So look at it like this. The state of New Jersey looked at the fact that, geez, we have a problem with drugs, abuse, and substance abuse. So let's do something about it. Then pretty much they decided to take some money that will be allocated, and I'll explain a little bit how that money is allocated in a moment. And using a formula, the money was actually broken up and given to the different counties, in order for the towns to be able to implement this money for this purpose. In Morris County, there are currently 28 municipal alliances operating, which represent 33 of Morris County's 39 municipalities. In total, Morris County received, when we actually had looked at this, it was close to around over $480,000 in funding for the municipal alliances from the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. This money was not received by Dover or Victory Gardens. Again, it's for the whole state. Please feel free to type questions or jump in if you have any. You can activate your microphone. So how does an alliance work? It is established by the municipal governing body. So every time that there's a mayor, the mayor has to, along with the town, they have to say, you know what, we want a municipal alliance here. And literally, they pretty much just have to fill out they sign a resolution. It goes in front of the town, and it is approved. And then the state of New Jersey comes forth and says, okay, you're good, after going through the process. Members are appointed by the municipal governing body. That's pretty much, how I have the position, being appointed by a governing body, by a mayor. That's usually how it happens. Volunteers include local leaders, school officials, teachers, health officials, law enforcement officers, civic organizations, business, and private citizens. So if you know anybody that falls into any of those categories that you feel might be interested in potentially participating and becoming a leader of the Municipal Alliance, please make sure you invite them for our next meeting. And not only that, please share this video so this way they're educated as to what this is all about. Activities overseen and coordinated by the Morris County Department of Human Services under the authority of the County Mental Health Substance Abuse Advisory Board. That's spelled, the acronym MHSAB. Community needs assessment are done to determine priorities and develop prevention plans. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today. We actually need to do this very, very soon. We have to complete a needs assessment where we will pretty much assess the town of Dover, Victory Gardens, by talking to leaders from those places to identify what are the main areas of concerns when it comes to substance abuse, and mental health as well. So then the plans are approved by the County Alliance Steering Subcommittee and the MHSAB. Then they develop county plan that's submitted to the Governor's Council after approval by the freeholders. So how are the alliances funded? Provided by the Governor's Council through Drug Enforcement Demand Reduction fines. Again, the DEDR. Fines are collected at the municipal level from persons convicted of drug-related offenses. So check this out. When somebody has an issue connected to drug addiction, substance abuse, and they actually have to pay fines or things of that nature, let's say drunk driving, things like that, or driving under the influence, whatever other influence of substance, that money actually goes into this huge pot. This is probably the best way to explain it, into this huge pot. And then once all that money is there, the money then is assessed, the formula is used, and then it is actually divided into different counties. So the DEDR funds are used to help develop community-focused substance abuse prevention programs. If you ever wondered, what do they do with this money when people end up, paying fines for drug-related, usage, substance abuse, and so forth. Well, this is pretty much what is done in New Jersey, and it is done with an effort to help decrease the amount of issues that we have connected to this. So, some sample programs where this money could actually be implemented: having peer leadership, anti-bullying programs, mental health programs, backpack giveaway, for example, community events, Tiger Wrap. If many of you know at the schools what that is, it's not only connected to substance use, it's connected to mental health, psychological health, emotional health, SEL, social emotional learning as well. Prevention initiatives, workshops, mental health initiatives, and so forth. Do we have any questions up to here, or are we okay? If you want to activate your microphone, say okay. That'll be helpful to make sure we're all on the same page. Anyone?
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. So, our mission statement: the Dover Municipal Alliance Committee and Victory Gardens is motivated and dedicated to promoting awareness and prevention of alcohol, tobacco, and other drug abuse and its devastation upon our youth and the community. The committee advocates and supports various programs within the schools and Dover Victory Gardens communities in the pursuit of enhancing and creating effective communication, education, and intervention goals. Intervention goals is very, very important, because the idea is that, you know what, sadly enough, we don't have a magic wand to just go like this and make things disappear, but we do have the ability to do something to make sure we change behavior by providing effective communication, education, and intervention. For example, something as simple as, if let's say there's an activity, something as simple as, let's say the town is doing a soccer tournament, right? If we have a table set up for the Municipal Alliance and we're actually giving out information to people, educating them, if we put signs around that's educating, this is happening, with this drug or with that drug, vaping is hurting in this manner. If we can actually do that, funding could be used for this event, because it is being used not only to play, but it is also being used to communicate effectively to the town, to provide an education to the town, and also as an intervention in order to prevent other further issues. Okay, so Michelle got thumbs up. We're good. So what is a MAC, or a Municipal Alliance, if you hear that? A community-based nonprofit organization dedicated to securing funding and coordinating efforts to combat alcohol, tobacco, and other drug abuse through prevention, intervention, education, and alternative activities. Who belongs to MAC? In our particular case, in a nutshell, we have a lot of people who are not able to join us today. That's why we're videotaping, in order to share this with them. But we have members from the local government, which we have, Mayor Dodd with us today. We usually have Mayor Holman join us as well. We have businesses, the healthcare community, law enforcement, religious leaders, and the community at large. Teenagers are also welcome, and they're also encouraged to participate as well. We're actually going to be needing teenagers. If you happen to know of any teenagers that might be able to help, where we could potentially just sit down, we could do it virtually or we could do it in person and have a honest meeting to actually hear what is going on. What is going on right now when it comes to drug use, drug abuse, substance abuse, and how could we potentially help? We can think as adults that we know what the teenagers need, but they know what they need. So in reality, in order to help them, we need to hear them out. So, having said that, it is very important then, at that moment, that we reach out to the community, and we're going to be doing this. This is something that I would truly appreciate if we could potentially get some helpers, that we can put some fielders out there. For example, Killian, if you want to reach out to some of the parishioners of your church, some of the parents, some of the church leaders, Pastor Tim, if you want to do the same. If you want to reach out to, if we have somebody that would like to reach out to, maybe the police, want to reach out to maybe some town officials that have been dealing with issues that we have been having in the town when it comes to, for example, alcoholism, people drinking out on the streets, right? It's something that has been brought up before. People just, doing drugs and not necessarily thinking about the impact that it's having on those around them. So the assessment is actually it's very, very, very good. It is very useful. And after we put it all together, then we come up with a number, and then with that number, we know what are the areas that we actually have to focus on for the future. So this is something I'm going to share with you right now, that when I became Municipal Alliance Coordinator, I learned a lot more about this. Is one of the things that I have used the most. However, we had the final one we had years ago was from 2021, and it was actually finalized. This document, it is ridiculously big, but it's very, very helpful. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to share this document with everyone so we can see it.
Hector, if I could jump in 1 second.
Please go ahead.
We are in the process right now of starting a youth advisory committee to the mayor and council in the town of Dover. We have the applications drawn. We're taking applications from high school students. And back to your comment before about talking to the local organizations, whether it's police or, town employees. I think that sometimes the youth can play a huge part in that, in which they could tell us what their actual problems are and what they see with, other children in high school or middle school that may be faced with peer pressure, drugs, alcohol problems. And sometimes it's better coming right from the source, being the youth in the community. So I would like to bring that to your attention, that that's in progress. That's going to happen real soon. So I would like to include them in this so that they can definitely give some input to this council.
No, absolutely. I think that's great, Mayor. And what, because it will be established, what we could potentially do with that group is maybe get more frequent feedback, because I'm sure they'll be having
Sure.
meetings, and maybe when they have their meetings, even if they take, 4 minutes to just discuss what's going on when it comes to this topic,
Yep.
then we as adults are aware, and we can see what we can do, you know,
To
as
help them.
as
Yeah.
leaders. So that's
Agreed.
awesome. Thank you for
Good.
sharing that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Anyone else would like to add or share something before I share, or any questions? Again, I do mean it. If you have questions, feel free to share them as we go. I will be sharing this website with you. Honestly, it's a very long document. I would really, 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 really recommend that you print it out. What we had done before, when we have events, we have copies of this document. Sometimes we'll print out like maybe 8 or 10 of them, and it's a lot of pages. We spread them out and we let people look through them. And you might be saying to yourself, what is it that you're talking about? Hold on, I am projecting, I think, the wrong thing. This is the wrong thing. Here we go. If once you can see the page that I'm gonna show, please let me know. Yep, this is it. Can you guys see where it says companion infographic, Samcha?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So again, it is a very long document. We're not gonna go over every single thing, but what I do want you to know is I'm gonna just point out a few different things, and you're going to leave here today with some facts of information that maybe you were not aware of. And this is part of the importance of this meeting, to be educated and then take this information, pass it forth. So let's look at the years as we go. We're gonna scroll through pretty quickly, but just look at the years. So you see here the 23, at least we know that up to 2023, to put this document together takes a really long time. So this includes 21, 22, 23. Very, 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 very descriptive. It is national surveys on drugs and health. And what happens is it goes from national into very specific. But what's happening here, and I'm gonna scroll this a little slow just in case for those that are watching the video, if you would like to take a screenshot, go to one of these websites, you feel free to do so. Here's the introduction. Again, we're not gonna read this. Once I share with you, you can see it. I actually want to get to the information. Some of these terms you may have heard or you may not have heard before, like when it comes to binge alcohol use. Let me just come here and here we go. So for example, not sure if you heard of this term. We have, what does it mean when you hear somebody say heavy alcohol use? It's usually connected to binge drinking on 5 or more days in the past 30 days. When you hear the phrase illegally made fentanyl, right? It is produced by clandestine laboratories, so people doing it, and not the pharmacies. When you hear the term illicit drugs, some of this stuff, right? It sounds very simple. However, when you start reading reports, you will actually want to really understand what it is that it is referring to. What is the misuse of prescription drugs? Central nervous system stimulant misuse, opioid misuse. This is something that when we had done our needs assessment, we actually were able to identify that there was an issue at times with teenagers, actually, and even some older people that were actually using medication, right? Prescribed medication to actually, get high. So also, this is very important. Substance use disorder.
Hector, there's a
Go ahead,
request to
Pastor Tim.
zoom, there's a request to zoom it in a little more.
To zoom in? Yes, I will
Yes.
do that right now. 1 second. Let me clear this. That better? Here, we'll look at, that's better, right, Pastor?
Yes, you zoomed in.
All right.
I'll keep out in the chat.
All right, so then thank you for letting me know. So I'll just scroll down and then we'll look at both sides. So when you look at a phrase like this, right? Binge alcohol use, heavy alcohol. This is illegally made fentanyl, illicit drugs, misuse of prescription drugs. Again, I'm gonna go through quickly. Want to respect everyone's time. However, I do want to focus on this other side, on the right side, which we'll look at in a second. This is very, very, very important. When I first became the Municipal Alliance Coordinator, I am pretty sure that this term actually did not exist, or it was really not used. You would hear the term drug addiction, drug addiction, drug addiction. And then from there, it was actually understood that referring to drug addiction was something that was actually kind of offensive or punitive or, emotionally, psychologically harmful to the person, because there's something happening within the body that actually goes beyond somebody's desire. So if I want to go buy myself I don't know, an orange juice, I could go to the store and choose to do that, right? That's very different than my body telling me if I don't put orange juice in my body, I am going to go crazy, right? Like something happens on the mind, and this is pretty much where this actual phrase came from, and it became something very, 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 very important. So substance use disorders, when you hear this phrase, are characterized by impairment caused by the recurrent use of alcohol or other drugs, including health problems, disability, and failure to meet major responsibilities at work, home, or school. So if this happens, this is not referring to the fact that hey, I just want to do drugs. This is not referring to recreational drug use. Do we understand this? This is one of the most important things that I'm going to share today. No questions about this. Okay, very important. I'm glad everybody got it. So, there's more information about this, but when you hear DUD, drug use disorder, when you hear OUD, opioid use disorder, when you hear AUD, alcohol use disorder, again, the best way that I try to express it for people to understand, imagine somebody, and this might freak some people out. It might make you think, what are you talking about? But it is exactly what it sounds like I'm trying to say. If somebody has diabetes, they have a condition that needs to be treated, correct? There's certain things in diabetes that you have to do when it comes to insulin and treatment and so forth. What has been proven through the science is the fact that when somebody becomes addicted to a substance, it becomes a disorder within the body that it literally becomes an illness. And this person, it's not that they're necessarily choosing to make their family's life impossible. They're experiencing something that is out of their control. So that's where these terms actually come into play. So let me make this smaller again so I can see where we are. All right, there's more definitions here. I'm gonna zoom in just to show this ones quickly. But this is important if you ever hear this. When you hear mental health, this is also a huge issue that's happening right now. I really do believe, based on COVID and just everything that has happened around us, that it's very likely that when we do our needs assessment, we might see a lot more increase when it comes to this. So if you hear the phrase, the letters, the acronym AMI, any mental illness, okay? This refers to the presence of a mental, behavioral, or emotional disorder in the past year or sufficient duration to meet the criteria from the Diagnosis and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. If you hear SMI, serious mental illness, okay? Presence of a mental, behavioral, emotional disorder that substantially interfered, right, with or limited one or major life activities. So here we have, what does this look like? We're going to look at some numbers and statistics that's actually going to put this all together and make a little bit more sense. This is important factor here. National Survey on Drug Use and Health Respondents were classified as having a major depressive episode, when you hear MDE, in the past 12 months. If they had at least one period or 2 weeks or longer in the past year when most of the day, nearly every day, they felt depressed or lost interest in pleasure daily activity. Number 2, they also had problems with sleeping, eating, energy, concentration, self-worth, or having recurrent thoughts of death or recurrent suicidal ideation. This is extremely important. You as a leader in your community, you as a leader in your house, you as a leader in your job, in your school, in your church, in your wherever it is at your organization, it is very important to understand that we have to be aware and pretty much pay attention to what's happening here, especially this one, suicidal ideation. What is it that is happening? We hear the word depression, and when we hear the word depression, we think, okay, depression, I'm really sad. But this is what happens. Sometimes people say, I'm depressed because I wanted to buy this car, and by the time I got there, they sold it. Oh, man. So you hear the word depressed used for that story, and for somebody who maybe lost a family member and has been struggling for years, and they say they feel depressed. So there's a difference between clinical depression and somebody just using the word depressed. So here we have a little bit more clarification. And important information here. Respondents' age. You need to know this in order to understand the statistics that we're going to share shortly. Respondents' age 12 or older were asked whether at any time during the past 12 months they had seriously thought about trying to kill themselves, whether they made a plan to kill themselves, or whether they tried to kill themselves in the past 12 months. Regardless of whether they had serious thoughts of suicide in that period, questions about suicidal thoughts and behaviors among adolescents ages 12 through 17 included response choices for I'm not sure, I don't want to answer, and yes or no. Now, this is the last portion, and then we're going to look at statistics. Treatment, substance use treatment. So this means the receipt of treatment in the past 12 months for the use of alcohol or drugs in an inpatient location, in an outpatient location, via telehealth, in a prison, jail, or juvenile detention center, or the receipt of medication-assisted treatment for alcohol use or opioid use. Mental health treatment means the receipt of treatment or counseling for any problem with mental health, emotions, or behavior in the past 12 months in an inpatient location, in an outpatient location, through the use of prescription medication via telehealth treatment, or in a prison, jail, or juvenile detention center. And this is the last thing we're going to look at. I am not going to read this all to you, but I did want to read these beginning sections to you for those of you that are not aware or might not really understand the value and the importance of what it is that we're talking about here, and we're trying to do by educating the community, by providing intervention programs, and by helping not only our children, our teenagers, our men and women, our senior citizens as well, because this also impacts them too. This is not just a teenager thing or a child thing. And then here we have recovery. All right. So my advice would be, again, I am going to share this with you for you to make sure once you get it, look at it very, very closely. Now, let's look at some actual numbers. And this is why this is one of my favorite reports to actually share, because of the fact that, okay. So Michelle, I'm videotaping the meeting, so I will share the video later on. Thank you so much. And Mayor Dot, thank you so much for attending. So this information is the one that I'm saying it's very important to kind of like look through it, and it's going to tell you what's happening around us. Cigarette use and nicotine vaping in the past month. So it tells you 2023. In 2023, 13.7% of people smoke cigarettes. An estimated 1.2 million of those people were underage. Put that in perspective. 1.2 million of those people who were smoking cigarettes were underage. People who smoked cigarettes in 2022 was 14.6. 2021, 16.0. So what does that mean? It is decreasing. Good job. With all the campaigns that came out against cigarettes, we have done fantastic. We're seeing a decrease, right? But then what happened? Then vaping showed up. And this is just temporary right now, but this is kind of the problem. So look over here. Nicotine vaping, 11.7. So 11.7 underage, ages 12 through 20 in 2023, 12.2, 12 through 20, 2022. So there was a slight decrease. Now, when you talk about people who vape nicotine here, an estimated 4.5 million of those were underage. When you're talking about in 2023 compared to 2022, which it was actually 8.3. So there is an increase there. Now, you look at alcohol use, right? And what do we see? Alcohol use, 47.4, 48.7, 47.5. So it has continued to kind of increase or maintain. Binge alcohol use pretty much has maintained. Heavy alcohol use maintained pretty much, but it's also slightly increasing. So you could actually see here. Let me share this part here. You can see here. Make that bigger. You can see there, pretty much in a nutshell, that it increased 2022, increased 2022, and then during those ages, they were pretty much the same. So it really does matter to be talking about this, because this is impacting everyone. So this report is extremely specific. It goes by ages, and it also goes by, whether it's male, females, and so forth. So binge drinking, here you have the different icons to tell you. So any illicit drug use, you see we went from the percentage 22.2 to 24.9 between 2022, 2023. Illicit drug marijuana, other than marijuana, pretty much 8.8. So it went from 8.4. It has kind of increased, still there. Marijuana use, according to this, went from 22 to 21.8. But we also have to take into consideration what happened in New Jersey when it was approved, right, for people to be actually able to not only consume but actually also buy and sell. right? So now you pretty much look everywhere and you can see a place where you can sell marijuana. Another thing is for those of us that have children, kids come outside and what's one thing they can smell? Pretty much everywhere now, in a lot of places. They can smell the smell of marijuana, right? Um, so I hope this is 25 pages. I hope this intrigues you. Here we start talking about central nervous system stimulant misuse, which we looked at the definitions, and we're looking here at what happens, we know, with the prescriptions, right? We start looking at numbers over here. Again, CNS, central nervous system stimulant. Here we have, it went from 3.4, 3.6 to 3.4 again. Cocaine use was at 1.7, went up to 1.9, it's around 1.8. Sadly enough, that has not just decreased and stayed down. It continues to just, manifest itself in different ways. Prescription stimulants, 1.4, 1.5, 1.4. 0.9, 1.0, and then 0.9. So pretty much staying around the same. Fentanyl, which has killed a ton of people. All right. And listen, we can go on and on with this report. Again, it's 25 pages. I would just scroll really quickly. Later on, you can watch the video. If you want to just stop it, feel free to do so. As I would like to just share it and then you could look at it a little closer. I really, really would recommend that you actually read the information. It's very eye-opening, very scary when you compare years to years. And then this comes, like I said, it goes by different age groups. Here is looking at adult mental health, all right? Looking at what depression actually looks like. Any questions as I come down? Concerns about anything that I'm sharing here? Kaylee, you look like you want to say something.
I do. I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
trying to write it in the comment,
Oh, go ahead. Go
but
for it.
for the vaping, it's not actually nicotine that's a really big problem right now. It's even the ones that are non-nicotine because of the liquid that the vaping is having, like that it's releasing, that people are dying from. So kids, especially kids like youth, where they can, some of them may not like the nicotine or they just think because it doesn't have nicotine, it's better for you, but it's actually just as bad, which that's a big problem because I only see nicotine in here, but I see a bigger issue with the vaping that is just flavored.
Yes, and a lot of those things, thank you for sharing that. A lot of those things are also connected to THC. The other, they also some of them have that ingredient as well. And also not only that, but when it comes to the chemicals that are inside of the actual device, there's a little thing that looks like a burner where it actually heats up. That thing actually dissolves and it disappears and it ends up inside the lungs. So we grew up, many of us, right, who those that are older, we grew up with the idea that if you smoke, you got cancer. This is the problem. We honestly don't really have a clue what happens when people actually use vaping devices because you know what? Even if they keep it clean, it's gonna disintegrate and it's going to end up in the lungs. So some of these things are actually causing memory loss, are actually causing sleeping problems, and a very common one, pulmonary issues breathing and so forth. So this is why it's very important to actually look at all this information. And like I said, I will be sharing it, the document for you guys to hopefully maybe share it in your institutions, your organizations, to kind of educate people around you. And again, this is really, really priceless information because it's not just from around us, it's actually from the state, and then it breaks it down as we continue on. So, not gonna keep going, but look, I did want to show you this part. This has a breakdown. It's gonna be hard for you to see because especially if you're using a phone. But this is a breakdown of 12-year-olds, in thousands, right? Past month, past year, and then it breaks it down. Mental illness. It breaks it down even deeper, by women and so forth, and then it just goes from there. So you could also feel free to visit the website that's there. SAMHSA, and it'll give you more information. So, all right, let me stop sharing this page because I got two more that I would like to share. Let me go to the next one. Just going to share so everybody can see it. Here we have what was discussed at the last. Can everybody see it? Yes. This is the last county-wide alliance meeting. If you would be interested in participating in one of the county-wide alliance meetings, you actually will be able to partake with the organization that has the 33 from around us, the different municipalities. It's very interesting to hear. There are presentations that are given, so I will show you really quickly kind of the agenda for the past meeting they had. This is how it started. The topic of the day was actually New Jersey Overdose Mortality Data Explorer and LMTI. And then at the end, all the different alliances share different activities that are happening, as well as the upcoming grant timelines. So these are the dates for the upcoming deadlines. So the reports that are submitted from the town, and June 27th will be the reports for the third quarter, and then the ones for the fourth quarter. This is where I would need your help. If you would like to potentially help with the needs assessment, we would truly, truly, truly appreciate it to help us to literally just put together pretty much a plan that then we'll just fill out, and we will submit in what's called the MAGs. And you'll see what that is in a moment. So, reporting is completed and the grant officially closed. We already submitted our application, and our application was actually processed and was actually approved. So that's a good thing. That means that we will be getting the funding. This tells you how all the organizations have to actually submit their information on time in order for when their spending that comes out, for there to be shown into the reports from the state, from the county, how is it that the spending is taking place. This is from Prevention is Key. If you would like in your organization to get some stickers that say one of these three things that you would like to maybe give out in your organization, if you want to give them out, at church, in your community center, in town hall, that people could just take, maybe put in their cars, put in their doors, just put somewhere, just to help to spread the word. You could feel free to let me know, and I'll be more than glad to get you some. Or you can reach out here as well, and Ms. Kaufman is very good, and she will be able to help you as well. This is the article. Again, I can share this with you so everybody pretty much gets it. But I will tell you this: life expectancy. Residents of Morris County have a life expectancy of 81.7 years old, which is higher than both New Jersey average of 79.2 and the national average, which is 77.6. Health status. Approximately 10% of Morris County residents report being in poor or fair health, compared to 14% statewide and nationally. Obesity and physical activity. The obesity rate among adults in Morris County is of 25%, which is lower than the state rate of 28% at the national rate of 34%. Additionally, 18% of the residents are physically inactive, compared to 23% statewide and nationally. Educational attainments: about 94% of Morris County residents have a high school diploma, and 83% have some sort of college education. Both of these averages actually surpass the state and the national averages. So this was all shared at this time. This is the moment in the meeting where other municipal alliance share different events and activities. This is the next upcoming meeting will be September 9th at 5 o'clock. If you would like to make it a point to attend, please let me know, and I will inform them that you will be attending. It's at 5 o'clock, and it is really not too far from Dover. It literally takes maybe about 12 minutes to get there, and that was it. And I got one more thing I got to show you, and then we are done with the different presentations that I had for you to see. So, all right. So remember when I said earlier about getting help, I want to show you what this evaluation program looks like in case anybody's interested. Can everyone see? Excellent. So make it a little bigger. All right, so there's the guide to Municipal Alliance action plan evaluations and county action plans evaluations in MAGS. Now, MAGS, this is the Municipal Alliance, database. Like, sorry, I couldn't think of the word. The database that is actually used through a program from the state of New Jersey. It opened up maybe a couple of years ago. So now we do everything in this website. All the information, we upload the application, we do everything in the website. So what would happen is, for those that might be willing to help us with the needs assessment, you can help by doing it by hand. Then we actually have to put the report together, and then this report would have to actually be entered into the MAC system in order for them to be able to get the information and kind of determine how the money will be spent. So I just want to show you what are some of the things here in the plan. This here, as you can see, these sections here, this is what it looks like in the computer when you go into the mags. It tells you the instructions on how to actually proceed to do it. This is not really why I'm showing it to you. I'm showing it to you because I want you to see some of the questions. So this is where it starts to get interesting. This is where the information is actually asked. So as you can see here in number 3, every single one of those little boxes, and I do apologize, but I think we might go to 8:05. We're almost done. But as you look here, all this information here, these are all different questions that address all of the different areas of the needs. Every single one of them, they're all called intervention, which is Alliance Action Plan Evaluation. And this form here, it's similar to the form that I would actually share that has questions in order to then determine what are the needs. Based on who is helping to look at it, we can then determine what is needed. And this is done, as you can see, all in these different sections. And the questions like list the successes and challenges of the year, and you go from there. So it serves to reflect upon the action plan that you have. And then look at this. This is a very, very good sample to show you. After we do our assessment, right? Like let's say, Killian, you do it at your church, you might come identifying, you know what? The youth and adults and the young adults. And then let's say that the police does it. And then the police say, you know what? No, our needs are with the actual adults and senior citizens. And, you know, we have a bigger issue with, let's say, whatever, whichever ethnicity. This is the one or that one or that one or whatever it is, for example. And then once all that information is put together, we know how to take the funds and actually spend them to address those needs. For example, if in the town of Dover and Victory Gardens, we don't have issues with people, you know, doing acid, right? Or inhalants, we don't have to spend money, time, and effort to address that because it's not a problem here. But once we identify what the problems are in Dover and in Victory Gardens, we can then say, you know what, let's focus on doing, preventions and interventions in regards to those things. How do you do these things? There's different sections. You could do focus groups. You could do pre-test, post-test, questionnaires, and surveys. So, for example, you could just have a little talk and then give an actual survey and then go from there.
So is this what you mean when we were talking about the youth earlier, trying to get them together and see? So, for example, our church, we have a youth leader and we have a good amount of youth that we can speak to. We can have them take this survey and then gather the information and bring it back to you.
Correct. And, even better than that, I would love to go and help to present the information to them, because they might be willing to open up if they understand 100% better what it is that's happening. And not only that, they might be encouraged to actually say, you know what, I don't only want to fill this out, I want to do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll be able to answer any other questions, that they have. So this is what I was referring to. Yes. Thank you
Okay.
so much for bringing that up. And that is all I'm going to share from here, because then the rest is just how to actually upload it. Let me stop sharing here. And I will just finish up. All right, so again, we did this part. We did this part. I showed you the dates for the submissions. We did this part. And pretty much a few announcements. If you are interested, there is an actual camp. It's from the Lindsay Meyer Teen Institute. It's an innovative alcohol and tobacco and other prevention leadership training program for high school students in New Jersey. So if you have teenagers, I'm actually be able to get involved in a leadership program to teach them how to make a difference when it comes to this topic. You could please let me know and I could give you the information for this. The camp is from August 18th through August 22nd. It's going to be in Harwick, Camp Mason, and the YMCA. And it will potentially cost money. However, the county is actually willing to potentially, depending on the need, to actually cover the cost of the training for these teenagers, which is amazing news. And number two, I had also mentioned prevention is key. If you happen to know that you would like some of the stickers that I showed you, those 3 different stickers, if you would like some, be more than glad to reach out and actually get some for you. We can hand them out to you, deliver them to you in order for you to pass them out to the community or pass them out to, when you're doing different activities. And you won't have to pay a penny. It would actually, be free for you. And our next meeting would be taking place August 13th, which is again a Wednesday, 2025, 7 to 8. I would love for you to please invite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. When we do our meeting in August 13th, it is not going to cover the same exact information that I just covered today. At that moment, we actually would like to have already in our hands and be able to discuss our intervention needs analysis at that moment. So that's going to be one of the big things that we're going to be working on. And if you have any questions in regards to that, please let me know. So at this time, before we finish for the evening, do we have anybody who has any questions or would like to add any information? And if you wouldn't mind maybe sharing something that impacted you today or something that you learned. If you're interested in potentially participating in the Municipal Alliance, I would truly appreciate to hear from you, and then we will be closing for the evening. Anyone?
It was good knowledge. It was good knowledge. And I would definitely take this back and talk to my pastor to see what we can do with the youth. See, because this is great involvement as well for them. And it puts them in the right leadership as well. No, thank you. That wasn't pretty.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So Janine, Pastor Tim, would you like to share anything? Any comments?
No, I will tag on that it was good knowledge and interesting to see the different statistics you were showing. What I didn't see, is there a date that you have to submit the evaluation by?
It's by the fourth quarter, so it would be around. I don't have the date. Well, you know what? Let me see.
I didn't see it in your PowerPoint. I saw the dates for the other different deadlines, But
Yeah,
I
it
didn't see
would
one
be
for
that.
the
That's
answer.
actually where it would be. So let me just check really quickly.
I don't think it's there. Yeah.
Just look.
Because I was looking when you were sharing it and I didn't see it. That's why I was just curious.
Yeah,
I know
because
you're looking to have it for the next meeting.
yeah, it didn't show it. So, but the June 27th, it's quarter 3. So it's actually after quarter 3 will be by the fourth quarter. So it would be, give or take by the end of July, even though it doesn't say it here, but around there. So, you know what, hold on, I might be able to find the date. But it's gonna be around there because that's by when we would have the fourth quarter report done.
Thank you.
So we're gonna be sharing that, and if anybody has anybody interested that would like to help, that would be magnificent. So thank you
I just have
again.
one question for the
Yes,
survey.
yes, ma'am.
Are we gonna get the survey that you showed us if we want to if we want to show that to our youth? Or do we make a survey?
No, we can actually make a survey. We can use the one that's there, but if we wanted to do it virtually, for example, like do a QR code, like a Google form for them to, they might want to do that instead, because ultimately how we get the information is not the most important thing, is the fact that we get the information from them. So then we would take that information, analyze it, and then put it into the form the way that it needs to be. So it's more
Okay,
hearing their voices.
and the one that Mayor Dodd said, do you think that we would have that from the youth by the by the deadline?
I will follow up with him because apparently, based on what he was saying, there's already some people who have already put in applications. So
Okay.
that's there. And so thank you so much, everyone. I would say one last thing before we finish. Anybody, I would like to remind everybody, every meeting we kind of have to say this. If you have used any funding, you have to fill out forms 10A, you have to fill out forms 10B for spending from your funding. If you have a nonprofit organization that might be interested in potentially obtaining funding, we might be able to actually allocate some funding towards your organization by you putting in a request to the Municipal Alliance, and we might be able to allocate some funding to that. If you're interested in that, please just shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll be more than glad to share that information with you. So thank you again, everyone. Have a blessed night, and we will continue to keep in touch. I will be sharing the information with those URLs, so you have the information for those extra documents. And feel free to share any upcoming events that you have that you would like to invite us to participate in, or maybe to go spread the word for prevention. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful night.